This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield.
You have a rich person's name. Like, you should be a billionaire with the name Winfield.
And co-host Marnie Winfield.
Checking the microphones, going good.
It is the 3rd of February, the year 2022. Marnie is not here. Special guest on. And that special guest is my friend Jason Vaughter. Jason, a lot of things going on in your life today, man. But first of all, congratulations on 3 years.
Thanks, brother.
3 years plus 4 years.
3 years plus 4 years equals, I think it's 7 if I take my socks off.
It is 7.
7 years, man.
Do you remember back when you had 3 years, 4 years?
Yeah.
What was your mindset? Was it kind of the same, or how has it changed from 3 years to 7 years sobriety?
So the evolution of the sobriety is the effort you take on mental health, right? So just like drinking was the routine before, eventually the routine is not drinking. And so you probably experienced this at this point yourself, where you're not in any active danger of like going and getting drunk today. Like, I'm not at any risk of going and getting drunk today. It's just not going to happen. Not even a possibility. Right. So then what do? Right. Like I told you, I think in the first podcast I ever did with you, and times where we just talked privately, is the mental part of sobriety was the epiphany. Like, oh, they're not drinking is the easy part. Right. The mental aspect of it is the hard part. And so the evolution from 3 years to 5 years, right, to 7 years has been more and more effort and progress on mental health, right? I kind of walked into learning about mindfulness and really trying to dive into what does that mean. You know, Buddhist practices are hand in hand with that type of thing, with mindfulness. And so I crave peace of mind is the Jones that I always deal with. And so the things that I do are to try to gain more and more peace of mind, right? A little bit here, a little bit there, a little quarter inch at a time, because it adds up. And that's been fun because I have been successful in quieting a lot of things around me down. It helped me to be prepared to manage, you know, going through a divorce, a separation for over a year, and then a divorce, right? The last year has been one of the most stressful years of my entire life. And it's funny, this morning I was sitting here, I had my little alarm go off to remind me it was my anniversary. And I sat there and I thought, wow, you did it, right? And I'm talking to myself, like, you're here, you haven't drank, you went through a divorce, you didn't drink, you in fact improved your health through exercise, mental health, just trying to improve. And I feel so much more stable than I ever did early on, because you never knew, right? 7 years in, you have a little bit of an understanding of how things go now and how to manage life, right? That's the hardest thing, is how do you manage life? How do you manage a divorce? How do you manage whatever, a terrible fight with your best friend in the world, right? You figure out ways to be able to manage that without having to use.
That's what I was going to say. This morning I woke up because I had also an alarm for Jason's 7 years. And actually it's been on my phone, I don't know, for about 3 weeks now, because you're like, hey, man, my 7-year anniversary, I'm going to do a podcast. And I was like, perfect. And so I said that in my phone. So like the last 2 weeks, it's like, reminder. I'm like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know, Jason. 7 years coming up, you know. But this morning I'm like, all right, cool. So I went and found you a little coin, did a little Photoshop, took the other white around it and gave you a digital coin on Facebook. But I also put on there that you inspire people. And I started thinking about, you know, that you were going through a divorce and just the things that you must have went through just in that alone. And you're standing strong. You didn't go back to drinking because A, you know, that would have made your life more miserable, but B, you didn't want to, you know, you felt like you didn't have to. And just to have that strength gives me strength, because I'm going to face some tough roads ahead as well. I don't know where they are when they're coming, but they are, and they will come. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But just to know, like, look, man, Jason, he went through a divorce. That's got to be horrible, you know, and he didn't drink. You know, it just gives me strength, man. It really does. I just wanted to share that with you.
I appreciate that. It's, I'm inspired by others. I think one of the great networks and understated aspects of recovery is that network of others that are going through that same shit or have gone through that same shit, right? Where you can say, yo, he was okay or she was okay. I mean, I told you when we were talking before, I draw inspiration from you, right? Everybody, that's just how it works, right? I find strength in others. Others find strength in me. Collectively, we're strong as shit together, right? Because it's a day at a time, right? That's the part that doesn't change, right? It's just today. And that's for everything. It's not just booze or drugs or anything else. It's anything, any level of recovery. It's just today that you have to concern yourself with. Focus tomorrow. When tomorrow gets here, stop worrying about yesterday because it's done, right? It's a simplistic view. That's part of the aspects of mindfulness I love the very, very most is it's so simplified. Yes, you have long-term goals. Yes, you are working on them. All you can do today is what you can do to affect tomorrow today, right? And that's it. Simple.
Yep. And you're going to better yourself every little day. And there was a saying on the wall when I started in Benton Harbor working in radio, and it was actually on the glass or whatever, but it said just a little bit better today than yesterday. And you add those days up, man. You know, in 365 days, if you're just a little bit better each day, holy shit, that's a lot better in a year,
right?
You know, and if you kind of take that approach in pretty much life and just, you know, get through the day and, you know, can you do something a little bit better today, or can you set yourself up a little bit better for tomorrow today without worrying about tomorrow? But there's things that you have to do, you know, today, and next thing you know, in 6 months, you're like, wow, that played out perfectly because you were doing the things you needed to be doing, whether that be applying for a business license or, you know, buying a house. I mean, whatever you're doing, make sure you're doing the right things, and the right things will work out, if that makes sense.
My brother often says, Corey, make the next right decision. That's the only decision you need to make is the next right one.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, right? It makes it easy. I think a lot of times I've talked with people about whether it's not smoking or drinking or whatever, is not making this decision to be this huge deal, right? If you make it a big deal, it will be a big deal. But if you decide, hey, I'm just making a change in, you know, I'm not going to smoke these cigarettes, or I'm not going to drink this liquid, right? I'm going to drink pop instead of booze, right? Like, think about it on that level. What's the change? I just don't drink booze. I drink pop now. No big deal.
Yeah.
Right. But if you go, oh my God, like, I can't believe I have to give up my booze to drink this stupid pop. I mean, what kind of success do you think you're going to have in that?
I was telling a lady that yesterday. I had to pick a lady up from Detroit and bring her back to her home in Saginaw. And she was asking, well, how'd you do it? You know? And I was like, well, I changed how I thought, you know, and as like you just said, you know, you can think, oh man, I can never drink again. This is going to be horrible. Oh man. Or you can flip that and go, I just don't drink. And then eventually, and not long really, you'll start to think, my God, I'm glad I don't drink anymore. Mm-hmm. I really wasted a lot of time, and we only live once. And you start looking at life different totally. And, you know, the more that you put a positive spin on things for yourself, you know, it shouldn't be a negative thing that, oh, you don't do drugs anymore. No, that's a good thing. Like, I don't do drugs anymore.
Right.
Like, that is amazing. Look at all this other stuff I can do. Look at all this other things I can spend my time and energy and money on. It's just beautiful. And she just kind of looked at me, and I just said, look, I don't eat fish. I didn't eat fish yesterday, and I'm not going to eat fish tomorrow. I'm not going to eat fish today. I'm not going to drink. I didn't drink yesterday. I'm not going to drink today. I told her, I was like, I guarantee you I'm not drinking today. And she just kind of looked at me, and she had that look of, and she was about to say it. Yeah, but we're not supposed to say that. And I jumped her on that one and was like, yeah, I know people say that we're not supposed to say that, but I do, and it works for me. So, you know,
why not say it?
Yeah, having somebody tell me, oh, because when you say it like that and say you're never drinking again, well, the next relapse is going to be worse. I'm like, huh? You're already setting yourself up for failure there, man. Like, let me just go about my day and not drink. Thanks. You know, I'm not drinking today. You know, you tell yourself that every day, and when you get out of bed, if that thought creeps in your head, you know, just, no, I don't drink. You know, you got to tell yourself that you don't drink. Tell yourself every day, I don't drink anymore. Eventually, it'll sink in.
I'm a happy non-drinker.
Yeah.
I'm a happy non-drinker, Corey. I read the book, Easy Way to Quit Smoking, update. I still haven't smoked. I recently crossed a year of that as well. I quit smoking August something of 20. right? And so we're like, whatever, 16, 17 months into that now too. Right? It's no different. Like, they're not a big deal. I control. That's the beauty of addiction, right? Mm-hmm. You control your outcome. You control your outcome. You decide the direction you want to go. This is anything, but it's obviously very present in addiction. Where do you want to go? Do you want to live a life of struggle or do you not? Right? What are your decisions go towards? What direction are your decisions making you go? Right? It's so easy. Like, as time has gone on, I have found, I don't know, myself less and less sympathetic when people talk about how hard it is to quit drinking or hard it is to quit smoking. I don't drink Mountain Dew anymore. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I don't drink booze anymore. I'm not doing drugs anymore. Like, it is literally not a big deal. Oh, and I run every day. I get on a treadmill and run 2, 3, 4 miles every morning, right? It's all about what you want to do. I want to live healthier. I told my mother, you know, my dad gave up on his life through addiction because of addiction to Oxycontins, right? He gave up on his life and died a slow death and was, you know, super unhealthy the entire time. And I always tell her, you don't have to worry about me. Like, none of that's happening. I won't be that way because I want better for myself. I want to live to be 80 or 100 years old, right? And you don't get there by doing drugs and smoking cigarettes and sitting still. Right? It's just how it works. So I'd make decisions that go in that direction, right? It's no more or less than that. And I struggle. I hear you tell stories on the podcast episodes of people that you know and their situations. And sometimes I just shake my head and I think, quit being a puss. Mm-hmm. Like, make the move. It's not a big deal. Like, make the move. You're simply not making the move. And there's no excuse for it. You know, we know, everybody knows, make the move.
Yep. You can get caught up in holding grudges or everybody else's fault. But no, seriously, what are you going to do about it? These are the things you want to change. What are you going to do about it? And you're smoking, dude. That's amazing. I quit smoking, but I used a vape to help me. And I tried the whole cold turkey thing. I just wasn't ready. And of course, at that time in my life, I was trying to get a hold of not drinking anymore. And here I am, like, going to try to quit smoking, and I was going to do it all. And it was just blowing up in my face left and right. But yeah, I remember those times where I'm sitting there and I'm watching a movie and somebody's smoking. Oh man, immediately. And it still hits me to this day. I'll see them smoking on TV and I'm like, damn it, I want a cigarette. I know they taste like shit. I don't really want one, but it's just that addict, like, oh, I want one. And cigarettes, a lot different. I mean, they are, but they aren't. Like, if I have a cigarette, I'm not going to crash a car. You know, like if I drive down the road, I'm not going to fall on my face. My liver's not going to fail. You know, my lungs will, you know, but there's not that instant, like, drunk, you know, from a cigarette. So, to have a cigarette, you know, it's easy to get away with, and you start trying to justify it. But I just remember, like, back in the day when I would go back to smoking after a very short time of even quitting, just sitting there going, no, I'm going to go buy some cigarettes. Like, I remember making the choice of, I'm not going to quit, you know, and that's pretty much what I was doing. Mm-hmm. I wasn't approaching it right, you know, and I felt like I was being neglected, the right to smell like crap and the right to shorten my life, you know, like, I'm neglected. I need to go smoke, and damn it, I got $6.
You think there's a benefit? Yeah.
And no, there's not. There's not one thing. Again, alcohol, drugs, none of them make you, well, some of them make you run faster and hit home runs, Sammy Sosa, but those were different, you know, like the drugs that people are on, you know, taking to get high or whatever, to get a buzz or to escape whatever reality or whatever situation, whatever pain, whatever trauma, whatever they got hooked on, you know, none of those even helped for the trauma we were trying to escape. You know, they didn't make us fly. They didn't make us see through walls. Nothing good ever happened, man. Same thing with cigarettes, you know, but here I am like, oh, hey, I'm going to go buy it because, you know what, F it, you know, it's too hard. What's too hard? Saying no? You know, like, it's really hard.
Saying no to yourself.
Yeah. If you don't prep yourself right, and if you don't think about it right, you know, if I would have had a different mentality, for sure, it would have been a lot easier for me, you know, and people say it all the time. Oh, I try to quit smoking and I just can't. And they say, you know, quitting smoking is hard. You know, like I said, I vape. So a lot of people say, oh, you're cheating. Okay, whatever. I don't smell like an ashtray anymore, and I'm sure vaping is not good for me. I'd probably bet you money that it's not good for me. Is it as bad as cigarettes? I don't think so. And that's a personal opinion of mine that I have from not waking up, hacking the lung anymore. You know, there's a lot of things, you know, but back to the smoking though. It's something that anybody can do if they're mentally prepared. And I don't know how you mentally prepared or went into that battle.
Corey, I was literally standing outside in the driveway smoking a cigarette. I had read the book Easy Way to Quit Smoking 3 times. And, everything in it, you go, yeah, it all makes literal sense. It's all simple. It's super easy. You understand a little bit more of the science of it. Either way, I'm standing out in the driveway smoking. I hit it. And I'm like, I look at it. And I was like, man, F these things. I'm done. And that's it. I literally quit smoking. I literally looked at it. It was just like, I F these things. And so that became my mantra. Every time I smelled a cigarette, saw a cigarette, thought about a cigarette, anything, I say to myself, F those things. F those things. Every single time. And I still think of it. I don't say it every time, right? But if I walk past somebody that I smell the smoke, my mind will still say, F those things. Right? And that's all it is. I don't care. I don't want to smoke cigarettes. That's a prisoner. That one thing they talk about in that book the most, which is the truth in any level of addiction to anything. You hold the keys to your own prison. It is that simple. When you want to stop, click, turn the key. Boom, you're out. Done. Have I thought about smoking? That's the thing I almost did the most in this divorce process, was to go buy cigarettes. But I always ask myself, and then what? Right? If every act before they're in the moment of relapse says, okay, I'll go get this booze. Okay, I'll go get these drugs, this cigarette, whatever. And then what? Am I going to buy another pack? Am I going to buy another bottle when I finish? Yeah, probably. Then what? Am I going to stop after that one? Probably not. So then what? Right? At what point? Like get the shovel out. How deep are we going to dig this hole? And so I easily go, when you put it in the context of the then what, what's my next action after that? Not to mention, you've relapsed. How shitty do you feel about yourself when you relapse? Jeez, talk about a terrible depression. Talk about a massive trigger. You talk about F it. You gave up on that. Like my little picture I shared of my anniversary. I will open that up and look at it and think, what if that went to 0? And all those days are gone. All those minutes are gone. Is that worth it? What fix could there be that would make me feel okay with turning those numbers to nothing? And I can't think of one.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Yeah, it becomes a very prideful thing. I know it is for me, and I'm sure it is for you too. Obviously you wanted to be on the podcast today. It's a very special day for you, man. It's the day you took control of your prison. Like you got the keys and you let yourself out. It's a very proud moment for us when we hit these anniversaries and these milestones. And yeah, to throw that all away, for what? Because something bad happened in your life, you got a divorce, like that happens all the time. People get divorced every day. Now, it hurts when it's you, I hopefully I never go through a divorce, but I can't sit here and say that, that's never going to happen to me. Because as soon as I get comfortable like that, boom, guess what? It's going to happen to me, and you just got to take, like you said, each day. But when those bad things do happen and you're faced with that moment where you're like, F it, and thinking about, and then what? I like that. And I guess, I probably do some of the same, playing that tape through. And there are days where I still think about drinking. It's like, oh man, it's sunny out today. And I play it through as it's kind of comical to me now that I can kind of not compete with my brain, but I can shut that shit down where I go, really, dude? I'm like, if people saw me in my car, they would probably think I'm nuts because I'm like talking to myself all the time, but I'm just like, really, dude? Then that's going to be a great idea, huh? And then your wife leaves you and you want to go sleep in your car again? Like, oh, you're going to have to give that car back too because it's a company vehicle, and it's like all this stuff. It's just like, oh yeah, over what? Getting a buzz on because it's sunny out and the buzz isn't even that good. I have these conversations with myself and I guess I have to, it's been keeping me sober. So I'll take looking crazy in my car just to be sober.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Lean into these feelings, right? When it hurts, lean into it. Mm-hmm. It's okay. So it's like strength, right? your tolerance of life moments is no different than your ability to lift a weight. You start off, the more you do it, the stronger you become in that moment, right? And every time that you do it, the easier it is the next time. It's just that simple. Mm-hmm. There are days that are terrible for me, right? There are days that I will think about my divorce and I cry. It hurts hurts real bad. Is it the best outcome? Yes, it is, right? Did I want to still did I want to be divorced? No, man, never. And I always figure there's a way to work it out, but there just isn't. And I explained to my mom, what I learned in this process is not that I am a failure at marriage and that I cannot be successful in marriage, only that I am not successful and cannot be successful in marriage with that one person, right? It's one person. The whole world's full of people, man. We'll be all right. I get lonely. That's the hardest part, right? Anybody that listens to this who is in recovery can appreciate what lonely is like. Lonely sucks as an addict, right? Because you just have this Jones, this little burning fire, fill that void with something, right? Just let's fill that void with something. And you just do. And so I have days that are tough. I work from home. My office for Lighthouse Party Bus is in my house. And so I spend a lot of time alone, 95% of my life, right? And it's challenging. But I try to do things this year. I have I tried resolutions, Corey. I don't like resolutions. I find them why the first of the year is the day you got to make things right? Why not do it in August or in March, right? We got to go, well, I'll get to it in January. No, I'll get that shit now. But I was listening to one of my podcasts that I listened to, and he was talking about how he does his. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to try it. And so I put down some, and one of them was to be in 18 social engagements through the year. Professional, personal, they're all the same. For me, it's all networking stuff anyways. So I set little goals for myself to put myself around other people, because I'm not going to rush to try to meet somebody to date, right? But I will put myself in situations where I can meet people. I most enjoy organic meeting of people, right? The dating website thing is dumb. I like organically meeting somebody, drum up a conversation at a cash register. Who cares? Who cares? Just because that's the way I enjoy it. But my point is, instead of dwelling on the loneliness or being sad about it, I decided to flip that shit and put it in a different perspective and try to go at it in a different way and go, instead of looking at this as a woe is me and feel bad for myself. Not that you can't take a day to feel bad for yourself sometimes. That's okay too. But to say, hey man, what can I do to make myself better? Right? What could feel better? I thought, I'll put myself around other people. Now I'm, as you know, going blind or legally blind right now. And so these situations are very scary to me, because I can't do simple things that, I just do, right? Make eye contact and shake a hand. When I can't see your eyes, I'm going to miss your handshake. There's a lot of things, right? All those situations make me nervous. And I feel like I have to repeatedly tell people I'm blind. And I hate that. I don't like to have to need help or assistance or anything like that. But the option of staying home and just withering away alone because I'm afraid, I'm not willing to do that either. I'd rather be super uncomfortable for a moment and then become comfortable immediately after that ice breaking has happened in these situations than sit home, right? I tell friends often that change, right? You'll ride every day with a stress level of 5, because you won't take one day or 1 week to have stress of 10 to be followed by stress of 2, right? I am not going to sit and live low level stress every day when I control that outcome myself. So I'm putting myself in these situations, and if it crash and burn, so what? I've already put myself in a couple of them. It's gone really well. And so I get excited about it. In a former life, I was a very social person, and I really enjoy being around people and talking and engaging and with others and learning about them. And damn it, man, I'm going to get myself back to that person, and I'm going to put aside all the fear I have over my vision to make it happen. I don't care, because I don't want to be miserable at home alone, because that is what puts me at high risk of having an F it day eventually.
I know a lot of people that are like that with the whole wanting to meet people, want to get out there and be social. and they don't do the dating online thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, some people do, some people don't, but you know, you're not really meeting, like you said, organic meeting of people. You're not really meeting that real person when they're online. You're meeting the pictures that they want you to see, and they're saying the things that they want you to hear. You're not really meeting them. You know, you're meeting their ego. You know, this is who they want you to see right here. And yeah, the grocery store, meeting people organically, like those are real meeting of people and seeing how someone really is. And, you know, whether you go to AA meetings or NA meetings, they say, don't look for love there, but you don't have to look for it. Sometimes it just finds you, you know, no matter where you are. It could be at the laundromat, you know, wherever you're at, where you're letting your personality shine is an opportunity for you to meet someone. And, you know, the more you stay in, that's not going to happen. It's just like if you say, I'm going to have hamburgers for dinner tonight. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to go out and buy the hamburger. You're going to make that happen. You know, if you just sat home and just thought, man, I really want hamburgers tonight, but they didn't just show up at my door. Damn it. You know, like, what am I going to do? And that kind of goes for recovery too. When people are like, well, my friend Justin, he was just talking to me about this yesterday, where he loves going to concerts, and people are like, how do you go to concerts sober, dude? Like, I always had to be effed up when I went to how do you go to shows? And he's like, well, first of all, I go see artists that I like that actually write songs and sing about recovery. He's like, because that's my life now, is recovery. And I can relate to these songs. And he's like, some of them are sad. Some of them are, you know, happy about my new life, you know, but I relate to them. And that's what I do. You know, I put myself in those situations. And I said something to him like, hey, you're not buying tickets to see Snoop Dogg. And he's like, no. He's like, but I would. He's like, I'm feeling that comfortable in my recovery where I could go see a Snoop Dogg concert, you know? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I would. And then we started talking about Kid Rock, and I'm just like, yeah, I wouldn't care to meet Kid Rock. Like that would mean nothing to me, you know? Like your life changes and everything around it starts to change too. And you start looking at who you hang out with, who you listening to, you know, and what are you doing to make that change in your life happen and stick? You know, you can't just sit home waiting for hamburgers to show up, man. You got to do something for it, you know. And if someone is out there struggling and they're like, man, I went to rehab and they didn't fix me. Dude, they're not going to fix you. You know, that's up to you. And I've seen way too many people lately with that attitude of, well, I went to the treatment center and they didn't do nothing. The therapist, she didn't fix me. What are you talking about? You have to do it yourself. You know, like they didn't tell you that. Oh, they did. You just didn't listen, or you're so entitled that, like, I really don't understand what magic they expect to happen. And I look back to see if I was like that, and I don't know if I was. Maybe I was. I don't know. I was just always hit by something else I didn't see coming, and I wasn't prepared for it. But at the same time, I prayed to God to let me figure it out. And I got exactly what I prayed for. I mean, God let me figure it out. It just wasn't in my time of right now.
Yeah, there's a level of patience to all of it, right? If I'm a believer of action, in action, I'm a believer in action, right? So I'm not a sit around and not do anything person. I'm about problem solving. I happen to be a really good problem solver. And when you start to be honest with yourself, and you could take a step back and look at your life, not as an outsider, but just not be as close to it. Try to look at it more macro than micro. And I mean, I go by feel on most everything. I always said when I got into the party bus business, I didn't know anything about it, right? I hadn't ran a business or managed a company before, but I went by feel. Situations feel like they should be done a certain way. And I just follow that gut feeling. My uncle always tells me, Jason, follow your gut. Always, 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 always. And so I try to just remind myself of that, follow my gut. And man, you could probably think of 5 times off the top of your head that you've had where you didn't go with your gut and it immediately bit you in the ass. I've had it happen countless times, right? And you think, I should have just went with my gut and I wouldn't even be in this situation right now had I just went with my gut, right? I picked Kansas City. You probably saw it. I picked Kansas City and San Francisco to go to the Super Bowl. No sooner than I posted, I told my mom, who was here watching it with me, I said, the funny thing is I want Cincinnati to win. I said, if I was gambling, though, you'd be crazy not to put your money on Kansas City. I was like, so maybe I'll be wrong, right? I just was bummed, right, that San Francisco lost. But either way, right, it just didn't work out, right? And so now I forget where I was even going with my point, of course, because I started talking football. I had a question for you, though. I had a question for you. You were talking about, like meeting people at AA or NA or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And so I have long said this is very nervous for me to date in the world of somebody else in recovery. And yes, I'll own that it's probably a little bit hypocritical. But follow my thinking here, and then I'll ask you what I wanted to ask you. So for me, my worry is the risk of if I have my significant other has a relapse, how does that affect me, right? And what happens, like I said, then what, right? And then what? What happens if my significant other has a relapse? I was seeing somebody when I first got sober, and I made the decision. She was a very convincing person, and we got drunk after I'd been sober for 30 days, right? And I thought about that. And so I wanted to ask you, was there any reservations for you, when you met Marnie? I would love to hear her answer at some point, too, to know the same thing. Did you have any reservation dating somebody who was also in recovery?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, especially because I tried dating when I was in early recovery, like months, thinking, oh, I got it this time. I've been doing good. I'm back on my feet. Things are looking up. Things are going good. And then I would involve a person in my life, and I personally wasn't ready for it. And whether I had 3 months or I had a year, if my attitude was the same, the results were going to be the same. I don't chalk it up to, oh, you got to wait 2 years or a year. I don't think there's a limit on it. I had to experience those blow-ups myself and all those red flags that I just ignored when I should have been seeing the red flags and realizing, okay, just because this person does heroin doesn't make him a bad person, but it's not a person I need to date. I don't need to fix this person. I can barely fix myself. And say, oh, well, we're like two buildings that are falling, but we're leaning on each other to hold it up, and it's like, no, that doesn't work that way. You can't be responsible for holding someone else up. And then the same for you. They can't be responsible for holding you up either. So when Marnie came into the picture, I was just like, whoa, like, I don't want her to relapse, because of me, and she needs to take her recovery serious. And that was just stupid on my part for trying to assume I know what was going on in her head. And she had told me, it was pretty funny. She's like, I don't know how important you think you are or who you think you are. She's like, but my recovery is mine. And that is the most important thing to me right now. And yeah, if we don't work out, okay, I'm not going to relapse over it. So I was just like, all right, okay, good. That's what I kind of wanted to hear. And she didn't say it like, she wasn't bitchy about it, and she wasn't like overly cocky about it. She was just like matter of fact, like, yeah, dude, you're great and all, but I'm not going to relapse over you, And I just kind of was like, all right, that sounds pretty good. And as far as dating somebody not in recovery, I would worry about that. But I see where you're coming from, though, because if that person does relapse, I don't like to think negative, but things do happen. So, to prepare for it, I would just do whatever I could. I wouldn't relapse with the person. I would do my best to get, her back. Well, obviously it would be Marnie now, and I don't see her relapsing, but you never know. But I would do the best that I can to be there for her and to get her back on her feet again, and it would take a very, 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 very traumatic event for her. And then I still don't think she would, but hey, you never know. And I think she would do the same for me. I know she would do the same for me. She wouldn't just be like, oh, well, get out of my life now, you piece of crap, and she knows the type of person I am now. She's never seen me drunk, though. That might change everything.
Isn't that weird?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that a weird feeling or a weird statement to say out loud? I've said that out loud. I said that to my ex-wife. I would tell her, I was like, isn't it weird? You've never seen me drunk before. Never. You're the only person I know who's never seen me drunk.
I think that might be another tool that we have to keep us sober, actually, because I don't ever want her to see me drunk, and she doesn't ever want me to see her drunk. To think about it like that, I think we do use that as a tool to keep ourselves sober. Never thought about that before, but yeah.
Yeah. My fear in the significant other relapse, it would make me relapse. My worry is like, I would worry about the mental hurdle of that. If you encounter that moment, like I guess that's where your commitment is, the rubber hits the road in that moment. Right? Are you committed or are you not? Are you going to be supportive, like you said, or are you going to cut bait? I guess it all depends on where you're at in your relationship. We're 2 months in and you get drunk, probably not going to work out. We're 2 years in, you get drunk, okay. Maybe we have options here, right? My worry would just become this: what if they can't get it under control? Then what?
Oh.
Then I got this person that's just drunk now.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think so.
They can't get it under control. It would be off
Right.
to the races, and we wouldn't have it under control either. But at some point, we'd have to get a grip. And usually, looking back at my past, I always needed help with that. But I would be there to help her, and I think she would be there to help me with, hey, like, let's get you some help. And then I think I would be, and hopefully would be fine. But hopefully I don't relapse either. But again, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. I guess it's funny for me. I probably can count on one hand how many times over 7 years that I've given actual and genuine thought to drinking. And I couldn't even tell you the last time. Actually, I could. It was right at the very, very beginning of the divorce process, right after she had filed paperwork, right? And I just had this kind of like, okay, this is real moment. And like, oh, like that feeling was terrible. That just hits you in the pit of your stomach. Everybody's had something along this line in their life where you just get some level of news that like takes your breath away almost. Like I knew it was coming, and it's still, when you see it, when you see it, you just get this feeling like, oh, this is super serious. When I was really young, it was like, I remember getting put in jail and you went, okay, this is serious. Here we are. Jail. All right. Serious, right? And it just, I don't know. But I had the same thought, right? It's not going to make me feel better. That's always what I tell myself. It's just not going to make me feel better, right? There are a million things you can do to distract yourself. Drinking is just one of them. Mm-hmm. I try to look at recovery as full body, right? Mind, body, soul, right? I'm not a religious guy. I probably fall under more spirituality than religious. But I certainly believe in listening to your inner self, that people often avoid. One of the books I read was called, oh my God, Jason Vaughter.
That's a cool name for a book.
It's such a cool name for a book. I can't even
describe it. Oh my God, Jason Vaughter. Like, dude, they got your name in that book.
I couldn't believe it when I was going through the index and looking it up. I thought, how coincidental. They have a book with my name in it. It's just one of those things. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe I am drawing a blank on this book name because I just finished it. I'm about to have it here because I'm looking it up. Because it's driving me crazy, Corey Winford.
What'd you call me?
So do you read, are you a book reader, Corey? Do you read any books, Audible books or anything like that in all your travels?
Yes, I do. There's a few books that I like, but I don't read as much as I used to. I used to listen to a lot of books on tape, a lot of self-help stuff, The
book is called Radical Acceptance. So I struggle a lot with my past, right? When I was young and all those things. And I started looking for, how do I circumvent this, right? How do people find acceptance in like their past where, yes, you know, these thoughts will always cross your mind, but where they don't have a negative effect on you. And I was kind of looking around, I came across this book, Radical Acceptance. And this is a taught philosophy of psychology, right? Is radical acceptance. There are psychiatrists that specialize in this. And it's just this moment where in every situation, whether it's your past, your present, in any situation, somebody who's being horrible to you, you just accept it is what it is for this moment. And none of these things are connected, right? Everything's an individual thing. Humans naturally string a thread through everything. And, we go, man, all these different events. Gosh, I've had a terrible run of luck lately, right? It's not luck. Things just happen. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you get a good string of situations that happen around one another. Sometimes it's bad, right? Humans naturally think of the bad. It's just how it is. So either way, I start reading this book. Wonderful book. I could not possibly recommend it more to anybody to read because it really gives you a different prism of view on, your inner demon thoughts, the inner struggles that you have, right? These things are tough. And, you beat yourself up. I spend a lifetime beating myself up, saying, telling myself I wasn't good enough, worthy enough, or I was a bad guy or whatever, stupid, whatever. And none of those things are right. None of those things are right? I don't want to beat myself up. I want to be my own best friend. I tell people all the time, love yourself the very most. You've probably seen it on Facebook because I will occasionally post it. Love yourself the very most. That's the truth. Jesus, if nobody's going to love you, right? If you got to love yourself first, right? Or you're not really in that position to be valuable to everybody else. If you don't love yourself, in all these different life situations, be kind, right? Now, when I have situations happen, I don't beat myself up over them. I don't tell myself, man, what a dumbass, oh, what a stupid moment, right? Jesus, hey, could you be any dumber in this situation, right? Think of all the self-talk you give yourself. Right? Instead of those situations, say, hey, human moment. I made a mistake. Hey, no big deal. We can fix it. Whatever. It's not a big deal. But I don't beat myself up anymore. I'm somebody who's always struggled with self-confidence, right? People that know me laugh when I tell them this because obviously, I'm a loudmouth. I love to talk, right? Confidence you wouldn't think would be my thing. But man, I lack self-confidence. I'm much better now than I probably ever have been. But I'm still not great by any stretch of the imagination. I tell my therapist, I wish I had life confidence like I have sports confidence. I said, when I play sports, it's on. I'm going to beat you. It's that simple. I know it, right? Whether I lose or not. I walk in and I know I'm going to beat you. I wish I had half that in real life. So I work. That Radical Acceptance book, the book I read before that, Science of Mindfulness, these things where I'm trying to figure out how do I love me? How do I present, to myself, my best me, right? Because if I can do that to where I can look at myself in the mirror and say, you're a good dude. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be successful. Mm-hmm. I do deserve it. For a long time, I didn't think that I did. Or I thought maybe one day I'll get lucky and I'll fall into success, right? No, you just have to have the confidence that you can do it. I hope that I can figure it out, right? I struggle sometimes just like anybody else. But I try to just love myself in those situations and tell myself, it's okay. It's okay that I'm scared. It's okay that I'm sad. It's okay. It's okay. Feelings are facts, as you've probably heard along the way too. Feelings are facts. You feel how you feel.
Yep.
Right? And the more you lean into those feelings and really feel them, good and bad, man, the better suited you are after that for the next obstacle. That's for certain.
Yeah, one of the things that I do, and one of what they tell you in rehabs and stuff too, in treatment centers, is that same thing about loving yourself. You have to love yourself. But one of the things that I tend to do now is when I do mess up or have a oops moment, like you said, I don't really beat myself up anymore, but I learn from it, and I don't think I know everything anymore. Like I used to. Oh, I know how that goes. It's everything. Got it. I know. I am open to letting myself make mistakes, I guess you could say, where I'm not expecting myself to be this perfect person because, well, nobody is, and you're setting yourself up for failure, even thinking like that. So I kind of take the approach of what is it called? Hold on, I think it's called Oh God, Corey Winfield. Is the name of the book that
is that the sequel to Oh God, Jason Botter?
Yep. And no, it's called Blind or nope, sorry, kidding. Just kidding. That wasn't even a shot at you. But it was something about how, damn it. I don't know. Anyway, it was good. So just take my word for it. It was good, whatever. And one day I'll think of it and talk about it again. But it's pretty much just saying, like, don't be overly confident, because there's probably nothing that you should be overconfident about, if that makes sense. Probably not the way I put it.
I mean, what are we experts in, right? How many things am I an expert in? I don't know. 2? I don't know. It ain't a long list, you know what I mean? So like, I'm willing to say, hey, I don't know, and I need you to show me. It's not a big deal, right? Like I was talking about, like I said, the network, right? I don't know what to do here. Who does? Somebody knows.
Yeah, but a lot of people will take the approach of, oh, I got this, or a lot of people think they're experts in everything when they're really not. Let me see here. Now I'm looking it up, because now I have to.
It makes you just wonder, right? It's good to be confident, right? But you also have to be honest with yourself, right? Being confident's great, but confidence without any skills, right? I could be confident that I'm a wonderful ice skater. My ass has never been on blades in my life. And all the thinking I'm the best in this and that, or I think I got this, right? I'm going to spill and fall on my ass just like anybody else. So it doesn't matter what you say, right? I'm more of a, what are we doing, right? Do I go to meetings all the time? No. I couldn't even tell you the last time I went to a meeting, honestly. It's been so long before COVID. In fact, I think I hit you up recently about the Tuesday digital meeting. So I was like, I wouldn't mind hitting a meeting, but it's easier to do one digitally than to go all the way over to the club for me.
Yeah.
So whatever, but you still got to be doing things. Mine is, I focus on my mental health. I think the mental health for me, right, and this might be different for others, I don't think it is, but the mental health for me is the catalyst for the outcome, right? If I'm feeling good between my ears, then the outcomes are probably going to be okay. And if they're not, I'm prepared for that.
So overconfidence bias. I can't believe I couldn't remember that. It's where we think it's where we're overconfident, but we're just unaware. And it's like they did the study where they asked, people, do you think you're in the top 50 or bottom 50% of drivers out there, on skill? And 93% of people said they were in the top. Well, that's impossible. 50% of people have to be in the bottom, but 93%, no, I'm in the top 50. It's like, okay. So if everybody thinks they're in the top 50, there's a lot of people out there that are delusional, and in some instances, I probably am, and it doesn't have to do with driving, but in different circumstances in life, that's why I try to tone it down a little to realize, I don't know everything here, and I should probably just listen a little more. And at least be understanding of the fact that overconfidence bias is real.
Right. Well, I think there's a lot to be said for time, right? You had somebody on at some point that had a short time sober. And I remember listening to that person talk about their sobriety, and 2 seconds into it, I thought, they don't have a clue. I knew, right? And then I listened to that person talk for the rest of the podcast and walked away thinking, doesn't have a chance in the world, and worst of all, does not even realize it, is oblivious to it. And then you find out that person failed shortly after, and you go, I am not even remotely surprised. Yeah. It's not hard to be sober, Brody. It's just not hard.
It's a simple.
I don't understand.
It's the hardest, simplest thing you can do, because it's like you said, it's not hard. It's simple,
Simple, but not easy.
Nobody wants to do it. And it's the easiest work you can do for yourself to become successful, but the hardest thing to accept to want to do it. It's insane. Like, I don't know what took me so long. I don't know why I was afraid I'd be missing something. Drinking's not that good. Is it because people are telling me I can't? Is that why I want to do it more? None of it makes any sense to me. And
I think it's just a deeply ingrained routine, Corey. I use smoking as that example, but drinking works the same if you're a daily drinker. right? Every day you get home at 5:30 and you crack a beer. What's your habit? Whether you want the beer or not, right? Pavlov's dog, ring the bell, or you ring the bell and the dog eats, right? It's just how it works.
Yep. Same thing goes for meetings. I'm sure you heard me talk about that, where I was driving home from a meeting and Marty and I had an argument, and the first thing, I need to go hit a meeting. I hit 2 of them, and I'm driving home and I realized, wow, I didn't think about alcohol one time. Like, I thought get to a meeting, because my brain had been retrained to know, hey, going to a meeting, getting the stuff off your chest makes you feel better. Like, my brain knew that. And so my brain was just like meeting. And I just kind of chuckled and thought, that's awesome. Like, my brain is retrained. I didn't think about going to the liquor store. And normally, 2 years before that, no doubt, I've been right at the liquor store telling the clerk, oh, man, can you believe my wife said this, or my girlfriend said this or that? Oh, man, yeah, she's driving me to drink. I mean,
I'll show her.
Yeah, it was her fault, and this is it. I'll show her. But
so a few years back, I had quit smoking cigarettes for like a year, right? It had been like a year. Cicely and I got a huge fight. Cicely and I got in a huge fight. And I decided I'm smoking, right? I walked all the way to the store. And I remember telling myself, if she pulls up besides me and like, don't smoke, it's not worth it, then I won't. But if she doesn't, I'm smoking. I don't care. I'm taking the control of this, right? And I smoked. I remember smoking. I was walking back. I smoked that first cigarette. And I thought, man, so dumb. But you already did it, right? And there's where the spill is, right? Well, what's done is done now. There's 19 more in this pack. Let's get to work.
Yeah.
Right. And I smoked for another year, whatever it was, a couple more years until I finally quit. And who knows, man? I don't know. One day will come that I decide I'm going to go buy cigarettes. Gosh, I hope not. I hope in that moment I've still got the strength. Here's what I'll tell you, though. I've got the confidence now that I don't see these scenarios being a problem, because I am able to tell myself that I don't, not only that I don't need it, but just be reasonable with myself and be like, what's the point, right? Love yourself the most. You ain't loving yourself. There's no self-care in that. Just not a big deal, right? And now, like you said, you have that thought of the meeting. Made me think of when I thought about drinking for a second after that divorce process started. And I remember chuckling myself. I went, why? Why would you do that? Nah, keep it pushing. And we're fine, right? I learned just to feel it. I'm trying to feel it more. When it hurts, and I let it hurt. And I try to focus on that and what does it make me feel this? Why does it make me feel this way? What can I do to move through it, to work through it? And I'm not a meditator-ish. I mean, I try. My mind is a racing mind, so it's tough for me to like be centrally focused. But I do find that even trying to be focused in those moments of meditation, they do help me outside, right? I'll remember to gather myself a little bit. I'm very impulsive. So like I can be impulsive to be a dick, right? Something makes me mad. I'll quick pop off and be sharp with somebody and catch myself maybe a second after that and like, damn it. Got away from me, right? And sometimes I don't catch myself. But as I have tried to be more mindful of being focused and present in the moment, when something happens, I try to take a breath first. If I start to like jump at it, try to just take a breath and go, okay, is this right? Because sometimes you're taking it out, a problem you had with somebody else out, on this person in front of you right now because of nothing they really did, right? They didn't cause you to have this hyper reaction to it. You did, right? You have that control. The more you take that breath, just that one breath before you pop, you realize like you won't as often. You'll be a lot more calm in those moments and it goes away pretty quickly. I read somewhere that in a fight or flight response, the human brain returns to normal in 20 minutes, no matter how severe. I thought, okay, makes sense, right? Calm yourself back down. Crying's good for you. I have a friend that talks to me about how crying makes her super uncomfortable and she hates it. And I always say, it's good for you though. It's really good for you, right? It really cleanses your body And I tell her, embrace it, right? And lately, she has a little bit here and then. She'll tell me, I did feel better after, right? I did feel better. And I think, yeah, right? Remember that feeling, right? Remember that feeling. And then next time, you hopefully remember again, right? Instead of telling yourself it's shameful for you to cry or only weak people cry, you say, hey, crying's okay. Everybody cries. It happens. And you let it out, and you'll feel better after, and you'll be more confident the next time you encounter a problem.
Yeah. And
are you a meditator?
I like to when I have time. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to get time to sit down for 15, 20 minutes, but I have been trying lately though. And I feel so much more refreshed. Like if I just sit down, I used to do it in radio. I would go in my office and shut the door. And before I did anything, I just would meditate for 15 minutes and then I would tackle my day. And man, I was more productive on those days and just more sharp and more focused. And the only thing I did different was meditate. So I chalk it up to that. But not reacting though, and taking a minute is something that I think saves a lot of people embarrassment. And nobody wants to be a dick. Well, sometimes people want to be a dick, but those moments where you're like, damn, I wish I would handle that so different, and again, we're not going to get it right 100% of the time, but those moments where you didn't react right, take notes of those and take notes of the times that you did and pat yourself on the back when you didn't just fire back, and I think a lot of those situations cause a lot of people to drink as well. And especially in early recovery, and you're angry about a lot of things, and boom, next thing you know, you're yelling at somebody for the wrong reason, and now you look like an idiot, and you know what? I'll go back to the liquor store because that's what I used to do, and I just messed up, and I'm a piece of shit, and you start telling yourself that, and next thing you know, you're at the liquor store handing them the money. Here you go.
Yep. Oh, yep. So many times. But not again, man.
Never again.
Not again.
Not today.
Never.
Well, Jason, congrats on your 7 years, man. I do have to run, but thanks for coming on the podcast. It's really cool that you wanted to be on the podcast again.
I appreciate it, buddy. I always enjoy chatting with you. I listen to them all, so I'm glad to hear you're doing good. Hopefully your health stays on the right trajectory and you start feeling better too.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And take care, and we'll talk soon. And thanks for the advice on where to get the socks and the shirts and stuff for the products that's coming. Appreciate it.
Good, buddy.
All right, Jason. I'll talk to you later, man.
See you, buddy.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the 217 Recovery Podcast. Win a bunch of free shit from 217 Recovery. Go to the app or the website, 217recovery.com.